everyone, Karen Conrad here. Welcome to Sweet Tea Hospitality. On today's episode, we tackle the decision of what to do with the strongest design element and gathering place of the home, the fireplace. You won't want to miss this. Welcome to Sweet Tea Hospitality, where we bring inspiration to your home and your heart. I'm in my personal home in Southlake, Texas, and as you can see behind me, I've got the fireplace going. I love fireplaces. Today, I'm going to be taking you through the design and the decision process where we decided what to do with the fireplace in the coastal cottage. This is a very significant decision because it's the biggest design element in the home, as well as the main gathering place for friends and family. I think we got it right. We'll see. In today's episode, we're making the final decision on what to do with the fireplace. I keep wavering on it. One moment I'll think, let's just leave it natural, the orange color. And then I'll think, no, let's paint it. And now we're kind of thinking about a smear that's right in the middle. But this is a big decision because it is the main design element of the property. And if I miss this, I could blow the whole design of the entire house. This is the family room and probably my favorite room in the house at this point, and it could change as we kind of do the improvements, but I love this fireplace. What a beautiful fireplace. And it is, of course, brick, which we are trying to figure out what to do. We have a couple options. We're probably going to whitewash it, or the other option is we might look at this new technique called smear. And that's a lot more expensive, and we just would want to make sure that it went with the look of the house. And over here, you see we've got a built-in that we're actually just going to leave in place. We're going to switch out the knobs. Everything will be black, and the hinges, we're in a live construction site, as you can hear that. And then we're going to paint all this in sort of an off-white color. And this house actually has paneling, which if you are around my age, you remember paneling was all the thing when we grew up in the 70s. And we're trying to decide, do we replace it or do we leave it? But at this point, it really kind of looks like shiplap. So I think we are just going to paint it. And this brick fireplace goes all the way to the other side in the kitchen. And so we are excited to make that kitchen really look amazing with brick on the entire wall. Hey, Levi, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mom. Another beautiful morning. Got my coffee here. What's going on?
Okay, do you remember the giant anthills that are in the front yard of the property?
You mean the ones that are supposed to be dead and buried from the ant repellent that we apply?
Yes, Levi, they are still alive and well. I was walking the property and it's like, I think they came back bigger. Does that even seem possible?
Oh no, that's not good. Do you think we should apply another round of the ant killer or look into other solutions? Maybe seek professional ant help from a pro?
Well, I'm thinking that, Miguel can do just about anything. And so maybe you could give Miguel a call and just see if they can get over there to take care of that. Then I'll just let Dave know that I just had to get rid of those things on the yard. And thank you, Levi, so much for taking care of that for me.
You bet, Mom. It's great to hear from you, even though it was about some Brazilian ant ambiance, and I'll take care of that right now.
Amen. Thank you, Levi. All right, love you. Have an awesome day. We're back at the Sweet Tea Design Workshop, tackling what to do with this fireplace. You know, there's a lot of problems with this fireplace, and in there, we just kept thinking there's gotta be a good solution and opportunity, and there certainly was. It was overwhelming at first. It was outdated, orange, these orange wood beams. I felt like, you know, I was looking at a pumpkin when I walked in the house, and I just didn't know for sure what to do. I went from let's paint the whole thing to let's leave it. I think I can work with it. And you know, we actually landed what I would say in the middle. We did the smear technique, which kept the character of the home, because I think the brick actually has a lot of character, but at the same time, it cut the orange. And so if you've got a fireplace that's dated and you kind of like that old brick or that old stone, this is a good technique for you to consider. I think you could do it on your own as well if you study the method, but it really helps you keep those treasured memories of the past, but yet bring it into today. I also had to decide, what am I going to do about the flooring with this fireplace? A lot of the properties are going very cool gray. And that's definitely in, and you know, redoing homes, you're probably looking at gray. It's absolutely beautiful. But when you've got an element like this that is such a big part of the house, it's important to consider what colors are actually going to bring out the best in that element like this fireplace. And I had multiple samples. They were laying all over the house. And what I decided to go with was Memphis Oak Light, which is a laminate that I got from Home Depot. The reason I chose this is it did have some elements of gray. After all, we were using the repose gray on the walls, but it also had some of the browns and tans in there, which really helped to blend the gray with the orange brick. So if you've got some of those pieces in your home that you love and you don't want to completely change the color scheme, choosing something in the middle like that is a great way to bring it together. And we actually use that laminate in the entire main floor except for the bedrooms. The mantle was a decision that we had to make as well. There was an existing mantle with the house that wasn't bad, but to me it was too thin. I wanted to really establish that fireplace, bring a brown color in there that matched the shelvings that we put in the bathrooms and make it a real masterpiece. In addition, I had to think through the artwork. And one of the things that you can do at home is if you've got some area in your home that is maybe looking a little dated, I like to use what I call the power of black and white. And so the artwork that I brought into this room close to the fireplace were definitely in a coastal cottage theme, but I stayed with the grays, the blacks, and the tans so that it didn't make that orange jump. It actually sort of cut that orange and complemented the rest of the property. The final thing we had to address was the inside of that fireplace. It was dirty, it was dingy, and we chose to use a spray paint that is intended for high heat areas. We painted the whole interior black, and then I put some wood in there that I actually got at Walmart, if you can believe it, in a box, and it really made it pop. So it looks clean, it looks fresh, and that black paint further solidified being able to cut that orange. And I believe that it just ended up to be a beautiful, beautiful fireplace that definitely honored the past, but looked new. Dave, when we first got this fireplace was bright orange.
Yes. And it was in your face when you came through the door.
It was.
It's the first thing you saw.
Yes.
And even if you walked around it, you kept seeing it.
It's
Like
true, because it goes into the kitchen.
You couldn't get away from the big orange fireplace.
Yeah.
It was everywhere.
It was everywhere. And, you know, when I spend time in a property, like Dave's used to this, but I'll think, oh, we're going to do this. And then the next day or even an hour later, no, we're going to do this. So I went everywhere from, we're going to paint it so that you don't see any color of the brick. Then I'm like, well, maybe we should whitewash it where it cuts some of the brick. And then I even went to, let's leave the brick as it is. And we actually ended up, I think, with the best decision. And it is called smearing.
The smear.
Yes. So Dave, help explain what it is to smear. Give people a little insight into
Okay.
that.
Well, think about smear like you're putting your favorite topping on your bagel. You smear it on there.
Yes.
Essentially, it's like a stucco type element that you smear it onto the brick. And you can see that it goes over top of the brick. It cuts down the orange. And one of the things you have to keep in mind is it looks different in certain spots, but you have to take it all in together. So for example, you may see a spot where it looks brighter, but you can tone it down with just a wet sponge. And even here you can see across the top that there's no smear, and on this side there is smear. That's okay. The difference in the look, you take it all in and you step back and it just looks like it works and it does very well. But if there's an area where you feel like it's too heavy, again, you just take a little sponge and you wipe it down and you can lighten it up. So it's a great look. And the color is a little bit different than the alabaster, but complementary.
Yeah, exactly. And it, you know, because we're trying to really honor the home. I mean, it was a well-built home. We weren't trying to make it look completely like a new build, because part of doing a renovation like this is there's character. And so the smear is new, but it looks old. It looks like it's always been here. So we're really happy with that decision. The next big decision we had to make is what to do with the paneling. And so the paneling was throughout this entire room, and we kind of went back and forth on that too. Do we do sheetrock? Do we leave the paneling? And we left the paneling.
Yes, and the paneling is like a shiplap look.
Yes.
And the paneling, if you think about it, has little gaps usually where they put it together. So a little bit of caulking down.
Yes, Dave's really good at finding those things. I'm just looking at the color, and he's like, oh, we have some gaps there. And so you made it so beautiful.
And then painting it. So it gives it like a vertical look, as you can see around the room. And it also looks good with the new texture that you did.
Yes.
With on the pillars and the wall with repose. It all works together, and even with the beams.
Oh, yeah, the beams. That was a big decision, too, because the beams were that same orangey color that really all the woodwork was in the house. And it was really coming down. Like, it's an 8-foot ceiling. This is a 1960s house. And architecturally, when we made the decision to paint the beams alabaster, it architecturally made it feel that the ceilings were taller. And I think one of the funniest things of this
dimensional
house...
still.
Yeah, dimensional, still that character.
Yeah.
But one of the funniest things, we have a lot of stories in this house, but the ceiling fans, when we bought this, were actually attached to the beam. And so they would be at eye level.
Sticking down.
Yeah.
So you have to calculate the height of our friends.
Yeah.
Like, is our friend going to, like, walk into that?
Yeah. Well, we were about walking in. We're not super tall people. So we definitely made the decision to remove those. And then the other thing, too, and Dave, you were really insistent on this, and it was good, is we had to bring in some light in this room and over the fireplace. And so we added a lot of can lights in here. And then also just to make sure that we had it's a halo light that moves, that shines on the fireplace.
Right, one really single halo light mounted over the mantle to just bring a little distinction. It looks so good. It does. And then you added the can lighting in the living room. And also another very cool feature with that lighting was the plug. you did on the floor.
Yes. So this goes back to, I want to think about how people are going to live in the property. And that's a lot of, I love to stage the property, which we did, but it helps me too to understand how is somebody going to function in here. And so I wanted to put a lamp in here, and we realized, oh my goodness, we'd have to run an extension cord that people would trip on. So we did spend the extra money and had the outlet put in the floor so that we could plug the lamp in. And that worked just really well. Another decision we had to make was this built-in. And that was also the orangey color. So we just painted it the alabaster, which is the color of all our woodwork. But we left the shutter doors on there because I really like the character of that as well. And just added the black knobs. So in this room, I couldn't be happier with this room.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful, and the decor we brought in to really give it that coastal cottage look, a little less formal than the formal living room. And also with the artwork, we were very particular. And one thing I knew is with brick, with this orange color, I couldn't put artwork on the fireplace that actually accentuated the orange or contrasted heavily with it. So that's why we went with something a little bit more neutral. But now we really enjoy hanging out in this room, and it's just got a great feel to it. And so we hope this has been really helpful to help walk you through these decisions.
Yeah, one other area I was going to point out is your treatment to the actual fireplace where the wood goes.
That's right.
That
was a big
game
one.
changer right there.
It was, because it was dirty.
Right.
Kind of had this brass thing, so we pulled that off. But the problem was that inside it looked really bad. So explain to them what we did and also what they have to be careful of.
Okay, so you go into the fireplace, and you can see here it's black, which accentuates the wood popping out for a nice architectural design. And when you change this up, all you have to do is clean it out and then spray paint it a black. But you need to also mask off the brick, because when the little particles go up in the air, they hang up there in the air and you think you're okay. But then if you don't have something covering the smear look, and I know this because this actually happened to us, the little particles come back down. You know the old saying, what goes up comes down? Well, they come down and settle on your smear, and you're like, no, what happened to the smear? So fortunately, they dust it off okay, but you just want to cover up anything you don't want to be black, and you spray paint it black, and it just looks great. And this is the black paint that works with fire.
That's what I was going to
That's
mention
important.
too. It's
so
very
there's no
important.
toxic fumes later. Yeah.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, so here we are. This is the Coastal Cottage Fireplace and Family Room. And so you did a great job helping with it.
Well, you're the designer. So.
There are times where our home may be a place that people that maybe strangers or people that we don't know very well are coming over to our home, or we feel led to invite them into our home. And you know, hospitality is a big part of showing people the love of God. And I love fireplaces. I don't know about you, but if there's a place that I want to cozy up to really feel, I don't know, relaxed, maybe even feel loved, it is a fireplace. And it's actually scriptural for us to have a fireplace and to invite people over that may be strangers or that we don't know very well. And here's a scripture that really shares with us the heart of God where this is concerned. And it is Acts 28:2, and this is from the Passion Translation. The people who lived there showed us extraordinary kindness, for they welcomed us around the fire they had built because it was cold and rainy. And this is talking about a time where it's physically cold. And I know all about that growing up in Minnesota. But I also believe this means when people's hearts are cold. Maybe they've gone through a difficult season. Maybe they just need to feel the warmth and love of God. Do you know, I remember when I was in a high school, I was a cheerleader, and in Minnesota, it got very, very cold. And we would come from what we called away games, and I would be riding in the back of a school bus. And by the time I got home, I was shivering cold. And my dad knew this, so he picked me up, and when he brought me home, he always had a fire going in the fireplace. He would put me right next to it and bring me a cup of hot chocolate or apple cider. And you know what? That made me feel so loved. And it created a memory that I think I carried with me all my life, because in Minnesota, in my home, I had 4 fireplaces. Yes, 4. And you know what? In Texas, where you could say it's warm in Texas, guess how many fireplaces I have? I have 4 here as well. So that memory, that warmth, that love that came from that fireplace, that fire that my dad built for me, really created a memory in my life that I have carried on and brought into the homes. And so when people come to my home and we have a time of visiting, or maybe they're down, maybe they have that cold heart that needs to be warmed, we gather around the fireplace. We talk about the Lord, and we create beautiful memories. As a homeowner, we have to continually assess some of the things we want to do with our houses. One of the things that we have to be aware of is we're living in the house now. We know the things that we like, but if we ever decide to move, or maybe we have a job transfer, we always want to keep an eye on making sure that the money we're investing in the property will bring us a return, or we'll at least get our money back if we sell it. The cost to redo this fireplace was surprisingly inexpensive. The schmear on the fireplace was just $900, and we paid somebody else to do that. So if you do it yourself, you'll be able to do it for even less than that. The mantle was only $300 to replace that. That was a great investment, and I think really impacted the look of the fireplace. And then finally, the black paint that is good for high temperature was just $24. And so this complete transformation of the fireplace, which again was the main focus of the home, cost just $1,224. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the transformation process of the fireplace in the coastal cottage. And I hope that you've been inspired with your own fireplace on something that you can do to update it, or even enjoy it with your family and friends a little bit more. This is a welcoming, warm place around a fire in this room, where our friends and family gather and enjoy the atmosphere. We might even break out a game and play it here next to the fire, or even enjoy a movie with a fire going on the couch. Even in the summertime, there's a wonderful beauty and subconscious connection with the fireplace that creates a place of rejuvenation, peace, and safety. I'm Karen Conrad. Thank you for joining me today on Sweet Tea Hospitality.